Afternoon everyone. So in this video I want to talk about a man called Maajid Nawaz. He's a representative of the Quilliam organization, which is an Islamic organization that is very controversial in the Muslim community of Britain. It was founded in the early 20th century by converts to Islam, and it remains a controversial organisation because they're very vocal against political and militarised Islamism, and as such they have quite a lot of support from non-Muslims. Anyway, to give you the background of what I'm talking about, Maajid Nawaz is a representative of the Quilliam Foundation, and he is standing as a Liberal Democrat candidate in London. But recently he posted an image, a depiction of the Prophet Muhammad having very light conversation with Jesus Christ. Now, I know that in Islam depictions of the Prophet are very, very taboo. So as a result of this, and by the way, it wasn't his own illustration, he was simply sharing it, so to speak. And he said his reason for doing so was to demonstrate that he could do that in a safe environment where he wouldn't have to face blasphemy charges. So he was trying to make a point with this. Well, there's been a major backlash from a lot of Muslims who have reacted very angrily to this, and called for Nick Clegg to sack him as a candidate in London. Nick Clegg being the leader of the Liberal Democrats. I'm pleased to say Nick Clegg has defended Maajid Nawaz, and so do I. And I think there's a real absurdity about all of this. By the way, the backlash has included a petition, but it's also included death threats. Now, I'm not saying that most of the people who signed the petition have issued those death threats. It is a minority that have issued the death threats. But nevertheless, the very fact that a man can have his life threatened over a cartoon is quite absurd. Absurd but not surprising, because if we recall a Yilin posting cartoons a few years ago, and there's been cartoons in Islam generally are a toxic mix. But the interesting thing about this wasn't depicting the Prophet as a terrorist. This wasn't depicting him with a bomb on his head. This wasn't depicting him in a ridiculing manner. I've seen the cartoon, it just shows him as an Arab man greeting Jesus in a very light-hearted manner. I really struggle to find how this can be so offensive, and I struggle to understand why it is taboo in Islam to show depictions of the Prophet. I've never understood that. If Muhammad was a man, flesh and blood, then why is it people put him on this pedestal of marble? Why is it they put him on this pedestal where he can't be criticised? If anything, that's dehumanising him, and in my opinion they're insulting him more than so-called apostates are. But there's another issue to this. Let's say for the sake of argument it is taboo to repost that cartoon. Okay. But my question is, why is there not the same level of outrage against much bigger issues in the Islamic world, in inverted commas? For example, where is the Muslim outrage about the Taliban's disgusting treatment of women? Where is the Muslim outrage about atrocities committed in the name of Islam? Where is the Muslim outrage about the fact that Christians are persecuted in Pakistan? Unfortunately, at present, that outrage is limited to a small group of responsible Muslims who do recognise that they need to speak out against this stuff. But unfortunately, and this is going to sound like generalising language, but I can't ignore the fact that that petition has got a lot of support. It seems to me that a lot of British Muslims seem to see this as a major issue, and not the other things that I've named. Now, this is definitely a cause for concern, that a man could be forced to step down simply for posting a cartoon depicting a founder of a major religion. And if you find that cartoon is not mocking the Prophet, it's not ridiculing him, it's not vilifying him as a terrorist, it simply shows a man in typical Arab dress. That's all. So this outrage is very hard for non-Muslims to understand, and it's very hard for people like me to understand why it is so taboo to depict the Prophet. And it is strange actually, because he has been depicted in several Arab films about his life. So it seems to be very strange. And there's another aspect to this. If Muhammad was so great, then why is he so thin-skinned? Why can he not handle being portrayed in this way? Maybe the truth is the Prophet himself wouldn't have cared. Maybe the truth is this is a mountain out of a molehill. Anyway, I'm just making this video to say I support Maajid Nawaz, and freedom of expression is absolutely paramount in a democracy. Maajid Nawaz has not threatened anybody. He is not spreading hatred. He is not posing any sort of threat whatsoever. Nick Clegg is right to support him. I support him. And any rational person should support him. So Maajid Nawaz, I'm behind you.